Released by Square Enix in 2004 on the PlayStation 2, Final Fantasy X-2 Last Mission would be a direct sequel game to Final Fantasy X-2, bundled with the re-release of the game. Directed by Motsumu Toriyama and written by Kazushige Nojima, there would be a follow-up sequel audio drama to Last Mission named Will, also bundled with the HD remaster of the game in 2013. For story, the game features the return of Yuna, Riku, and Pain coming together again for another adventure after parting ways following their last one. For gameplay, the game is a roguelike dungeon crawler in which floors are randomly generated alongside enemies, traps, and treasure, movement is on an overhead grid, everything takes a turn sequentially, and saving and shopping are very limited within a dungeon. Though only one character can be controlled at a time, Dress Spheres are now equipment that grant different stats, stacking abilities, and can be leveled up or combined to make stronger versions. Up to 5 Dress Spheres may be equipped and may be destroyed as they take damage for the player. Keep in mind, the International Edition of Last Mission accounts for either X-2 ending where Tidus does or does not return, while the HD remaster assumes he does not, so I will be using fan-translated Japanese text for relevant dialogue and apologize for any discrepancies. In addition, the audio drama sequel Will establishes that he did return and again clarifies officially his name is pronounced Tidus. The story only gets larger from here, so let's cut it down to size with recapitation. As the game begins, 3 months have passed since the defeat of Vegnagun and Tidus' return as Yuna finds herself entering Lucas Stadium where she is surprised to also find her cousin Riku also there with an invitation similar to her own. Already waiting for them is a third member of their Gullwing group, Pain, showing she too got a mysterious invitation here. Riku points out they were quick to split up 3 months ago, so they spend some time catching up, making their way back to the airship, the Celsius. Reading the letter together, it tells them to travel to Usidore, reach the top of the tower under their own power, and be rewarded with something worth seeing. Pain says she's heard of the recently discovered tower and could lead them there, and without waiting for their normal pilot brother to return, they clumsily fly off on their own. Traveling to an overgrown Al Bhed village, they see the 80-story tower looming in the distance, and recall they cannot simply fly to the top, much to Riku's chagrin. As they climb a few floors, Riku shares how non-stop her day-to-day life still is as she's been helping Shinra and Rin with their research by exploring undersea ruins and sunken machina. She's also supporting her father's attempts to make money and rebuild home, and tried to work a peaceful option between Kimahri and his Sacred Mountain and LeBlanc and her opportunistic syndicate. These past few months, she's also helped out some helpless friends and even tried to improve her singing on the side. Yuna is impressed on how Riku keeps so busy but isn't jealous of that lifestyle, and Riku half jokes Yuna doesn't want to see her anymore. Later on, they find ruins that Pain says the Machine faction has looked at and suspects predates even Xanarkand, wondering if whatever is waiting for them at the top of the tower is what gave this tower its name, learning the name is Reverse Al Bhed for Eidolon. Speaking of the Machine faction, Riku wonders how Gippal is doing, and Pain says she hasn't seen him in a while, nor Baralai or Nuge. Pain replies that they're all busy, and some groups have already dissolved like the Youth League and likely New Yevon next. The 3 former leaders are also on an apology tour, so that will likely take a while, and even before that there's something Pain wants to do before rejoining them. Further along, Pain asks if Yuna is still living in Besaid, and Riku confirms this, jabbing at her to rejoin the Gullwings when she gets bored. Yuna laughs that won't be happening, as it's true when Tidus was gone she was confused and lonely, but now that he's back they are very happy together and she doesn't want to lose that peace. Aside from that, she's been helping look after Wakka and Lulu's baby boy, Vidina, who are still enjoying parenthood as well. Riku still points out Yuna is almost 20 and should live life while she's still young, and Yuna replies that while she found what she was looking for, that doesn't mean she's done everything yet. Thinking to herself, Pain notes it would have been stranger if nothing at all had changed. As they make camp for the night, they reminisce about the beginning of the last adventure, and Pain reveals she's writing a book to chronicle their journey. She invites them to help write it with her, or at least they should try writing each other, but both Yuna and Riku decline, discouraging her. Riku says she'd rather talk about new stuff than old stuff, and Pain shoots back Riku is running around helping everyone with their lives as she wonders what Riku wants to do for herself. Riku finds herself at a loss for an answer, just knowing that she needs to keep moving and keep busy, feeling the burnout yet unable to relax. She adds to the side she couldn't be like Yuna, who is just lazily wasting her time away on Besaid. Offended, Yuna counters that Riku chose her busy life and likewise defends that she likes spending time walking, talking, and cooking with Tidus. Riku rejects such a boring, mundane life, and Yuna is confused why she doesn't see that as exactly what she wants for herself. Yuna accuses Riku of fooling herself by keeping busy all the time, and before things escalate, Pain steps between them. She tries to defuse the situation, but Riku and Yuna are still a bit heated, though Yuna reflects they weren't like this before. Continuing their climb, Yuna and Riku are still on each other's nerves, wondering who wrote them all this letter in the first place. Pain confesses it was her, explaining that after they split up, she continued doing things she wanted to do but felt empty while doing so. She was hoping that by reuniting them they could recapture something. Yuna understands and Riku wonders about the reward at the end, and Pain admits she just made that up. In truth, she just wanted to go on another adventure again just like old times, fearing they were drifting apart as friends, and Riku waves away that it's only been 3 months. Together, they elect to finish what they began rather than go back, though Riku still worries what will happen to them after this adventure. Noticing how withdrawn Riku is, Yuna guesses out loud the reason why is because of how different they became, insomuch that by coming together, it shows how wide the gap is now between them. So, before things get any worse, she wants to go home, and confesses she feels the same way. She reflects on why they fought before, thinking maybe they only got along before because they had to due to circumstances, and not necessarily because they were really friends. Without that one thing in common, the more they stay together, the further they grow apart. Pain then points out it's true they don't really know each other all that well, and Yuna agrees, thinking that may be the real reason why they fight. Approaching the top of the tower, a mysterious and ominous figure called the Founder traps the group and takes them to the top of the tower instead of ejecting them, putting them before an outer plane envoy emblazoned with Spira's Spiral of Death, Major Numerous. As each new death brings new life, and each new life guarantees death, Yuna, Riku, and Pain put aside their differences to defeat the Serpentine Hydra and finally arrive at the final door. Opening it together, they find a staircase leading outside to a strange device between even stranger monster statues. Unfortunately, they find it too worn and damaged to use, and no clues about its purpose or function, ending this adventure with no treasure in hand. Riku was the first to complain about this waste of time, asking Pain what they were supposed to see up here. Pain chuckles because she does see something, and tells her to look again. Each of the girls pause and take in the unique sight before them, remarking that while they all took in the scenery atop the world, they each still saw something different for themselves. As they choose to accept that and laugh about it together, they reflect that in a few short months they were already growing into different people, no longer needing to lean on each other. Maybe they would see each other again after this, or maybe not, but it's fine either way as they move on with life. They would still have their memories, so in the future when they have grown up into different people, they can still look back at moments that will never change. 6 months would pass and we are now introduced to a new pair of strangers, a judgmental young girl named Chiwami traveling with her childhood friend, the serious-minded Kurgum. Kurgum was to become a summoner, but when the Eternal Calm started and there were no more Faith, he instead has become a council-authorized sender who can still usher souls to the far plane. Technically, she is his assistant, but she is the one calling the shots in their friendship. The two are assigned to deliver a message from Spira Council Chancellor Barreleye to High Summoner Yuna on Besaid Island and pass along Micah Road, where the new Bevel Stadium is being built. As it so happens, legendary Guardian and Blitzball superstar Tidus is there, making an appearance, and still a crowd favorite. Chiwami wants to take a closer look, knowing that Tidus knew her father, but Kurgum gets nervous at the notion of meeting one of his heroes. Chiwami gets an opportunity to shake his hand and immediately notices no strength in it, as if it were hollow and lifeless, and wonders if he's hiding an injury. Arriving on Besaid, they see Yuna is currently an advisor to the Yevoners, the remnants of the old faith who still see value in the belief. Personally, Chiwami doesn't really like the Yevoners, but is still interested in meeting the heroine who saved Spira 3 years ago, and also knew her father well. They are first greeted by Mayor Lulu, who questions their business, but Wakka says they'll allow them a personal audience, though he'll be sitting on it too. He escorts them, saying Yuna is still praying for peace in the former cloister of trials, and Chiwami mumbles such an action is useless in this day and age. She questions the dogma of Yevoners, and Wakka clarifies they still support the positive teachings, but openly reject the lies and control the old establishment held onto, stressing that it's just one way to live, but not the only way to. He adds it's different from New Yevon, who was using Yevon's name to gain public trust while promoting progressive views, before dissolving into a council these days. Chiwami openly points out the weak nature and foolish practices of the Yevoners, and Wakka gives the irritated teenager some life advice to be a kinder and bigger person than someone small-minded who likes to pick on people. As he goes to get Yuna, Chiwami thinks bitterly again how her mother was killed by people who used to hunt down and kill Yevoners, even though her mother was just a sympathizer. Kurgum senses her emotions rising and asks her to stay focused on the mission. When Yuna arrives, she asks them to leave their package and immediately dismisses them, and Chiwami again feels insulted. Yuna apologizes, saying she's been feeling anxious recently, and this interrupted her prayers, and Chiwami shoots back she doesn't have to pray for peace as the council takes care of most of the problems in the world today. They open the package to find a sphere with a recording showing 2 Shoopuf in the Moonflow River, and everyone is shocked, as all but the last Shoopuf have died recently, and this second one seemed to come from nowhere. Kurgum explains this Shoopuf had a mate that was killed by Sin decades ago, and the elderly state that same Shoopuf has returned. Chiwami adds the moonflow is also overflowing, teeming with far more spiritual energy than normal. The council thinks it's the Yevoners and so wish to speak to Yuna in person, but Yuna thinks this is the beckoning and knows the Yevoners have forbidden it outside the Farplane. Wakka interjects, saying this is just a political move by Baralai to take advantage of Yuna's influence, and Yuna was supposed to be spared from the world of politics. Yuna offers to send a reply in the form of a spear, but cutting her off, Chiwami says they saw Tidus and Bevel hiding an injury, and concerned Yuna agrees to go, though Wakka says they should talk to Lulu first. Chiwami and Kurgum wait, as Kurgum is thrilled to meet one of his idols and asks some questions like how summoners should continue in a world without the faith. He asks Chiwami can ask about Orin, and she hushes him, letting slip how she is his daughter, which is picked up by Lulu, who approaches them. She is surprised to hear this at first, but after studying her, chuckles while remarking not only does she look nothing like him, Orin never mentioned having a daughter once. She then adds many swindlers have approached them claiming to be the long-lost children of Orin, Braska, or Jecht, asking for heirlooms, and Chiwami protests being called a fraud. Regardless, Chiwami doesn't have memories of Orin nor proof other than her dead mother's word, and so the skeptical Lulu drops it. As Wakka, Yuna, Chiwami, and Kurgum travel to check out the moonflow, they see it's now full of people, half of which are actually illusions brought back by the other half. Stranger yet, these illusions can talk normally instead of just being heard by their beckoner. Kurgum senses the same phenomenon as Yuna and feels duty-bound to begin sending these abnormal souls, but he is stopped by Yuna and Chiwami, who don't wish to cause a scene at this time. Arriving at Bevel, they are all shocked to see the return of Sin, and Yuna wonders who could have so strongly beckoned back the monster that should no longer be. Yuna knows a summoner and the final Aeon can defeat Sin, and Wakka suggests they go back to Besaid before the masses push all this on her to fix, even though there are no more faith. As they wait for Yuna's decision, she suddenly declares a need to see Tidus. Finding him quickly, Yuna speaks with Tidus privately as an impatient Chiwami waits for their next move. Eavesdropping, she hears Yuna suspect Tidus of cheating on her, and Tidus is shocked to hear this false claim, concerned that recently Yuna has not been thinking clearly or acting like herself. Yuna admits there is something wrong with her and cannot think straight, now coming out of the blue and saying she's now in love with someone else that Tidus doesn't know. Staying calm, Tidus asks who and wants to meet them, but Yuna gives no details. Chiwami is annoyed to see the world is about to end and Yuna is fighting with her boyfriend, but now looks at the normally calm and serious Kurgum, who is suddenly over-emotional and sobbing. He declares he suddenly loves Lady Yuna and apologizes that he can no longer be with Chiwami. Bewildered, Chiwami repeats they never even had a relationship like that to begin with and is very confused, as Kurgum replies it's something only summoners would understand, saying goodbye as he quickly leaves. Still frazzled, Chiwami thinks to return to Besaid to inform the people who once defeated Sin about its return, knowing it would be too much for Kurgum. Tidus is there too, explaining what happened to Lulu, who loudly sighs at his confusion over this mystery guy Yuna loves. She sharply tells him to figure it out and start by looking for her and embracing her again. She scoffs at him, thinking he knew Yuna better than that, and then turns to lash at Chiwami for thinking things were hopeless. She points out that with Sin coming back, what's to stop anything else from coming back too, and while Chiwami is still confused, Tidus realizes the greater meaning behind that. Lulu and Tidus agree to set out immediately, and Chiwami asks where they are going now. Tidus replies they are going wherever Yuna is, as he has not given up on their promise to always be together, and at the same time, Yuna now addresses the public, declaring her resolve to defeat Sin to roaring applause. Final Fantasy X-2 Last Mission has enjoyed the success of selling over 3.5 million copies worldwide.
Isn't that Tidus? Wasn't Tidus' status as a Blitzball superstar. Tidus, we're rooting for you! I saw Tidus in Bevel. Your boyfriend, right?
Have to see Tidus.